You're early. But that's not the point. Let's cut through the noise. Yes, you're early. Earlier than 99% of people will ever be. But that alone means nothing if you don't know what you're standing on. Being early without clarity, that's gambling. Being early without conviction, that's fear waiting to be triggered. Being early without vision, that's like holding gold and thinking it's gravel. And that's where most people are stuck. Because let's face it, the majority of the crypto crowd isn't in this for infrastructure. They're chasing hype, headlines, and hollow promises. They're glued to charts, waiting for green candles like it's a slot machine. They're addicted to noise. One influencer tweet, one Elon meme, one TikTok pump, and they're all in. Then out. Then angry. Then on to the next. But HBR holders? We're not built like that. We're not tourists. We're architects. We're not chasing coins. We're tracking systems, watching the blueprint unfold, and holding not just a token, but a piece of digital infrastructure being quietly embedded beneath the next global economy. HBAR isn't your average coin. It's not trying to compete in the loudest corner of crypto, because it's not just another Ethereum clone. It's not an L2 knockoff. It's not here to be a trend. HBR is something different. It's a consensus layer engineered for trust at scale. It's the logic layer for the next wave of tokenized economies. It's a protocol not built for today's memes, but tomorrow's systems. And what does that actually mean? It means when the Internet of Value, not just content, goes mainstream, when everything from real estate titles to health records to government IDs get tokenized, when central banks roll out programmable money, and every asset you own has a digital twin, HBAR will be right there, not in the headlines but in the machinery, quietly settling, securing, finalizing, running the rails underneath everything. And here's the wildest part. The world still has no clue. Hedera doesn't trend on Twitter. HBAR doesn't get the meme army. Mainstream media doesn't even know how to pronounce Hashgraph. But guess who does know? Google, IBM, Boeing, Dell, Standard Bank, LG, and dozens of real enterprises who don't gamble on hype, they build on reliability. They're not guessing. They're not testing the waters. They're running nodes. They're governing the network. They're integrating Hedera into trillion-dollar workflows today. You think that's random? You think that's coincidence? No, that's design. That's what happens when you build a protocol not for speed, but for longevity. Not for market caps, but for mission-critical systems. So yes, you're early, but don't stop there. Understand what you're holding. Understand why it matters. Because this isn't about 10x or even 100x. This is about being positioned beneath the next trillion-dollar migration. When the world shifts from analog money and fragmented records to real-time, trustless, globally verifiable value exchange. And when that happens, HBR won't just be a coin. It will be the scaffolding of the digital world. So, you're early? Good. Now get ready to hold like you know what's coming. The world doesn't even see it yet. Let's be real for a moment. Walk into any crypto group chat. Scroll through your average Reddit thread. Pop open a Twitter space. You'll hear the same coins, the same narratives, the same recycled noise. Bitcoin having Ethereum upgrades, Solana NFTs, meme coin season, and what's the next 100x? But mention Hedera and watch the room go silent. Not because it's irrelevant, but because most of them have no idea what it is, and even less idea what it's doing behind the scenes. They've never heard of Hashgraph, or if they have, they dismiss it because it doesn't fit the narrative they're used to. They don't understand asynchronous Byzantine fault tolerance, arguably the highest standard of security in distributed systems. They don't know that Hedera doesn't fork, by design. That finality is final, in seconds. That every transaction is time-stamped, fair-ordered, and verified by real governing entities, not anonymous validators with unknown intentions. To them, it's just another layer one. They don't realize Hedera is the one project not trying to be Ethereum, because it already solved problems Ethereum hasn't. And that's fine. Let them sleep. Because while retail is chasing pumps, the world's most powerful institutions are quietly stepping onto Hedera's grid, not to speculate, but to build, govern, and deploy. We're talking Google, a governing council member running a node, contributing infrastructure support. IBM, integrating Hedera with enterprise blockchain frameworks like Hyperledger. Boeing, part of the governing body. Not for show, for actual digital logistics frameworks. Dell, using Hedera's immutable logs for trusted data in edge computing. Standard Bank, building cross-border settlement tools in Africa. Ubisoft, experimenting with Web3 gaming models and NFT infrastructure. And these are just a few. In fact, over 35 major enterprises across finance, tech, supply chain, telecom, law, and energy are not just using Hedera, they run it. They are the Hedera Governing Council, and each one has an equal vote, no special privileges, no backroom deals. That's corporate-grade decentralization. No other network can say that. No other crypto project hands the keys to world-leading companies and tells them, help build this with us, and do it publicly. And that's the part that flips the whole script. Hedera isn't building decentralization the way crypto Twitter imagines it. It's building trust frameworks the way governments, banks, Fortune 500s, and global NGOs actually need. Not anonymous, not chaotic, not experimental, but secure, auditable, fast, fair, scalable, sustainable, battle-tested, and business-ready. The kind of infrastructure that powers real-world value, not speculation. So while the masses are asking, why isn't it pumping? The smart money is asking, how fast can we plug in? Because HBAR isn't just a token on a chain. It's the fuel for a completely different type of network. One that isn't fighting for attention, because it's too busy solving trillion-dollar problems. So yeah, the world doesn't see it yet. But that's the opportunity. By the time the headlines catch up, by the time the influencers jump on board, by the time the masses realize the Internet of Value needs something better than blockchain, Hedera will already be in place. And the people who understood it early, the people like you, won't just be holding a coin. You'll be holding a piece of the next financial internet. The trillion-dollar window is open. It's no longer a theory. The tokenized economy is happening. And not in the distant future, not someday. Right now, governments are issuing digital bonds. Banks are testing CBDCs. Asset managers are tokenizing treasuries, carbon credits, and commodities. And corporations are building real-world systems on public ledgers for the first time in history. But here's the part most people miss. All of that infrastructure needs rails. And not just any rails. Rails that are fast, final, fair, green, scalable, immutable, regulatory ready. Ethereum can't handle it. Gas fees and throughput make it unreliable for serious enterprise applications. Solana, not consistent enough. Polygon, still anchored to the Ethereum bottleneck. And this is where Hedera steps in, not as a faster coin, but as the next layer of global digital value infrastructure. Let's talk numbers. BlackRock CEO Larry Fink called tokenization the future of markets. The World Economic Forum predicts $24 trillion in tokenized assets by 2027. Real estate, stocks, debt, art, commodities, everything is going digital. And that shift requires a network that's auditable and compliant for regulators, final and fast enough for banks, green enough for ESG mandates, built to last, not to hype. That's Hedera. HBAR isn't just the gas token. It's the core utility layer enabling this transformation, from settlement and smart contracts to proof of record and decentralized identity. Think about it. A tokenized bond issued by a central bank needs instant, immutable settlement with full audit trails. A digital carbon credit traded across continents needs low fees, time-stamped provenance, and public transparency. A fractional real estate asset offered to global investors needs stable pricing, no forking risk, and real-world compliance. All of this is happening. And guess where it's being tested, deployed, or explored? On Hedera. It's already in motion. The United Arab Emirates is piloting carbon marketplaces on Hedera. Shinhan Bank, South Korea, launched tokenized stablecoin FX trials on Hedera. The CBUAE and Banque de France tapped Hedera for CBDC interoperability research. ServiceNow is building enterprise integration with Hedera's consensus service. The LSE London Stock Exchange has explored tokenized securities on Hedera-compatible systems. This isn't testnet hype. This is institutional-grade infrastructure in live pilots, government conversations, and high-value enterprise corridors. And while everyone's watching meme coins do backflips, HBAR is embedding itself into the operating system of digital value. So when you hear 4,000x potential, it's not a Moonboy meme, it's math. Because when a network positions itself under the largest migration of value in human history, and it's the only one that checks every technical and regulatory box, the upside doesn't come from hype. It comes from inevitability. You're not betting on a price chart. You're betting on a paradigm shift. The advantage no one sees. Here's the irony. Hedera is probably the most misunderstood project in the entire digital asset space. And that might just be its greatest strength. Because while everyone's eyes are glued to price charts, hype cycles, and crypto drama, Hedera has been playing a completely different game. No flashy announcements. No influencer campaigns. No promises it can't deliver. Just execution. Slow. Steady. Strategic. Institutional-grade execution, the kind that doesn't make headlines until it's already too late for most to catch up. Let's break this down. What makes Hedera different, truly different, is that it was never built for retail hype. It wasn't designed for 20,000% overnight pumps, Deegan casinos, high-gas NFT chains, or Lembo Twitter threads. It was designed to solve real problems for real industries. How do you tokenize and transfer billions in assets without losing traceability? How do you verify global carbon credits in real time? How do you prevent fraud in public records and identity? How do you audit high-frequency data transfers across borders? These aren't questions a meme coin can answer. These are enterprise, infrastructure, and policy-level challenges, and Hedera is the only project that's already integrated with the companies facing them. That's the quiet part nobody's talking about. Because while crypto influencers are arguing over layer 2s, Hedera is being embedded into Dell's data trust systems, ServiceNow's enterprise platforms, IBM's blockchain frameworks, the UAE's carbon markets, Africa's cross-border finance, CBDC trials in South Korea and Europe. And here's what's wild. All of this is happening with barely any noise. No viral videos. No paid media blitz. No flashy dashboards. Just trusted institutions building on Hedera because it meets their standards. Because the protocol doesn't need to convince retail. It already convinced the people who move markets. That's why this moment matters. Because this is the part of the cycle where conviction matters more than clicks. Where quiet fundamentals beat loud speculation. Where utility beats visibility. Most won't notice Hedera until it's too late. They'll be too busy chasing the next hype wave, while HBR sits quietly underneath the tokenized global economy, moving trillions in assets, verifying billions in data points, and securing the systems that actually matter. That's not a dream. That's already happening. And the only reason most people haven't noticed? Because Hedera didn't need their attention. It only needed their systems. The convergence has already begun. Let's zoom out. What happens when governments, banks, global companies, and real-world industries all start digitizing their systems at the same time? You get a convergence, a rare alignment of incentives, problems, and solutions, and you only need to be in the right place once to ride it all. Guess where that place is quietly forming? Right underneath Hedera. Because when you connect the dots, you'll see it. CBDCs being explored by dozens of central banks. Global carbon markets demanding transparency and traceability. Tokenized assets like real estate, stocks, and commodities going digital. Cross-border payments needing instant, audited, low-cost rails. Governments and corporations demanding proof, security, and governance. This isn't a narrative. It's a stack of trillion-dollar problems. And they all need the same thing. Fast finality. Immutable records. Public accountability. Low energy consumption, enterprise trust, regulatory readiness. No blockchain has delivered that. Hedera has. So here's the truth. Hedera didn't build a project. It built a platform for global migration, from old infrastructure to public trust layers. While others built hype coins and racing games, Hedera was designing verifiable energy credits, decentralized identity for public records, real-time tracking for supply chains and health systems, programmable, auditable money for banks and regulators, a consensus engine that can handle all of it at scale. And HBAR? That's your access pass. That's your stake. That's your early seat at the infrastructure table. The same way early investors in AWS weren't betting on Amazon's bookstore. They were betting on the cloud that would run the internet. HBR holders aren't betting on number go up. They're holding the protocol that the next internet of value will be built on. So where does that leave you? Right where the world will eventually end up. Except you're already here. You're not following the crowd. You're not chasing moonshots. You're standing quietly on the rails that the next global economy is starting to run on. And when that convergence hits full speed, when tokenization, identity, payments, assets, and AI all need a neutral, efficient, verifiable trust layer, you won't have to catch up. You'll already be there. And so will HBAR. Know what you're holding. You've made it this far, and that tells me something. You're not here for hype. You're here because you see through the noise. Because you know that timing means nothing without understanding. And now, you understand. HBAR isn't a token riding waves. It's a foundation, buried deep beneath the next financial system. Invisible to most. Inevitable to those who've been paying attention. So here's what to do next. If you're serious about where this is going, not just the next pump, but the next paradigm, lock in right now. Like this video to push this message where it belongs. Drop a comment with your thoughts or your questions, and be part of the conversation. Subscribe for more breakdowns that cut past the noise. And turn on notifications because when the shift hits, it won't come with a warning. You're not here to follow trends. You're here to understand the infrastructure before the world needs it. HBAR isn't early-stage hype. It's late-stage confirmation just hidden in plain sight. Know what you're holding. Stay sharp. Stay positioned. And don't just watch the future happen. Be the one who saw it coming.